What's the difference between a condominium and a townhouse? So a townhouse is actually an attached single family dwelling when we look at it from a collateral standpoint. So you may have a neighbor attached to the left and attached to the right, and you're kind of squeezed in the middle, but you're going to buy that unit and you're going to buy the land underneath it. Now, a condominium doesn't really work that way. You're really going to buy the airspace that's in there because you may have a couple of different units that are stacked on top of each other. So based on that collateral perspective from an investor like a Fannie Mae, a Freddie Mac, FHA, VA, they're going to look at this a little bit differently. So they're going to look at the project as a whole as well. So there's a couple terms that they use, whether it's a warrantable condo or a non-warrantable condo. And when they think about why they classify it this way, because if it's warrantable, that makes it, the marketability and the sellability back in the market if they ever had to foreclose on that property is really where that maintained idea is coming from. So what makes a condo warrantable or non-warrantable? There's a few different factors. First is going to be occupancy. So with occupancy, let's say we have a condominium complex of 100 units. And there's 70 of them that are rentals or non-owner occupied, and 30 of them that are owner occupied or used as second homes. So that's going to give us a 70% investor concentration. Now, in certain circumstances, an investor may not like that there's that many rental units because maybe they're not maintaining them, or it just may impact the marketability of that unit. Another one will have to do with if there's one investor that might own more than 10%. So if you had, again, 100 units and one investor owned maybe 12 units, they own 12% of that complex. Well, that is a risk also in the fact that that investor could just go on a fire sale and just say, I got to get rid of these units really quickly, and that could impact your value. And the last piece is really going to kind of come down to the budget. When they look at a budget, they're going to analyze how the homeowners association is managing their finances. Do they have more expenses than what's coming in from the homeowners association dues? Do they have reserves? Is there litigation that's maybe impacting that budget as well? So those are a couple of different variables that kind of come into play. Now, when we look at that, when we're trying to determine a warrantability of a condominium, we're going to go through what they call is a review. And there's two types of reviews. There's a full review and a limited review. A full review is going to go through a lot more details with budgets, occupancy rates, things of that nature, and addressing a lot more detail when we look at a full review. And if you're putting a minimum down payment of 3% or 5% down on a conventional loan, or 3.5% down on a FHA loan, or 0% down on a VA loan, most likely you're going to go through a full review. Now, if you can get into if you're buying a condominium as a primary residency and can put at least 10% down, then you could qualify for a possible limited review, which will take a lot of these aspects out, and it might be easier to qualify and get the complex approved in your loan parameters. So ask your lender about that, and your agent should be able to help kind of determine whether you have a warrantable or non-warrantable type of project, or if you might be able to do a limited review to kind of make sure it kind of fits. One last question to ask your agent is, can we see any other sales in that complex over the last 6 months? If we could find out that we're seeing conventional financing or FHA or VA financing that has happened recently, that's always a good sign.